Today's episode of This Week in Startups is brought to you by Asana. Asana gives teams everything they need to manage projects, tasks, and work productively to deliver better results faster. Visit asana.com/twist to sign up for free. And Squarespace. Check out squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, use offer code TWIST to save 10% off on your first purchase of a website or domain.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of This Week in Startups. This is the show where we talk about startups and technology and where the future is headed. Two of the biggest trends of the past year have been ICOs, tokens, cryptocurrency, and privacy. My next guest is working on the most promising startup in both of those spaces, I would say. Now, by way of background, Brendan Eich is was the co-founder of Mozilla and Firefox, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. And you worked at Netscape back in 1995, 96.
95, yep.
So you created JavaScript.
Yes.
Lest anybody forget.
Small detail.
A small detail. You created JavaScript, which is, what is the footprint of JavaScript today?
I think it's, by some measures, the most widely used language in the world, programming language.
Programming language, yeah.
Yeah, Stack Overflow, GitHub.
Yeah, I would say it was the
charts.
Yeah, pretty amazing. And what was the origin of JavaScript?
So when I was young and foolish, I declined an offer to go to Netscape at the founding. And I went a second invitation a year later to go do Scheme in the browser. Scheme is a Lisp-like programming language, very pretty, kind of researchy, not practical. By the time I got there, they were doing a deal with Sun to put Java in Netscape to kill Windows.
Java in Netscape to kill Windows.
And they said, well, we don't know if we want Scheme, but maybe a little brother language for Java. Mark called it Mocha.
Mocha, I remember this, yeah.
Bill Joy at Sun supported it. It went through a renaming to LiveScript, and then Bill signed the trademark license December 4th, 1995, and it became JavaScript.
Amazing.
Which has nothing to do with Java.
Has nothing to do with Java, but it is very, very popular, obviously. And you're a coder by trade.
Right? Not lately. I'm busy running the company. I was, recruiting, talent scouting for the first part. Now it's a lot of that plus management. And
the new company is called Brave. You can see it at brave.com, and you can follow it at Brave on the Twitter. And then as part of the Brave browser, you have the Attention Token.
Basic Attention Token, yeah.
The BAT, the Basic Attention Token. So we're going to get into all of this. I think the best place to start is, why a new browser?
Good question. People said that when we did Firefox. They said Internet Explorer has locked up the market. You can't do anything about it. We proved them wrong once, and I think what happens in these mature markets is the owner comes into a conflict of interest with the users. In Microsoft's case, they wanted to go back from the web toward Windows lock-in with Windows Vista, if you remember that. Yeah. They felt punished by the antitrust case. They'd been convicted of abusing their OS monopoly to take over an adjacent market. They felt tired of web standards work, and they said, let's just put the browser, Internet Explorer 5 or 6, on a skeleton crew. And it really got bad. Pop-ups, ActiveX, malware. You probably remember that stuff. So we did Firefox. We took back the market and restarted web standards. Brave is going up against a similar conflict between mainly Google and its users. But 3 of the 4 top browsers in the US, in my opinion, have been captured by or are owned outright by advertising companies.
Right.
Which means they will not block ads or trackers, the invisible scripts, JavaScripts, that ads rely on. And therefore, their users suffer from ad overload and tracker overload, which means they feel like they're stalked by ads. They pay for extra data plan by the download of tracking script. They suffer battery reduction from that download running the radio on a smartphone. Yeah. So Brave is, first of all, addressing a pain point for users by building ad blocking and tracking protection and other privacy features into the browser. And that differentiates us from almost every other big browser in the West.
And correct me if I'm wrong, the company Google created the Chrome browser in stealth. And at the time you were running Firefox, Firefox was printing hundreds of millions of dollars in their ad revenue deal with Google.
Search revenue share, yeah.
Search revenue share. It became such a huge amount of money pouring into Firefox and the Mozilla Foundation that it became an issue with the IRS of like how to deal with a nonprofit that had hundreds of millions of dollars in cash.
Oh, yeah.
And this was well documented in the public. I don't know exactly how that got resolved.
It got resolved by making a for-profit subsidiary to pay the taxes like any other company. And the nonprofit owns the for-profit.
Perfect. So you pay some taxes and you don't have to worry about the government wondering why is this nonprofit getting all this money. But the more interesting part I felt was while you had this incredible partnership with Google, in stealth, they were getting ready to stab Mozilla in the back. And these are my words, not yours.
We knew. I mean,
you knew.
I
knew they were going to stab you in the back. How did you know?
Well, so some of the Mozilla people from Netscape days went to Google in late 2004. So
that's a bit of a tell.
One of our guys who did Firefox 1.0, Ben Goodger, went there, and then some people who were also strong from IBM went. And they did the Chrome demo in 2006. And rumors spread. We knew it was happening. Even in 2005, they'd been investing in Firefox, helping us out on engineering and safe browsing, anti-phishing, and a few other features.
Right.
And then they pulled those people back. So we knew they were going to do their own browser.
Wow.
I told one of my friends there, I told Larry Page this too. I said, you guys should just do your own browser, put your own spin on it.
Yeah.
Which
they did. And now Chrome has become the dominant browser?
Yes.
Interesting how things change. You had Netscape was the dominant browser, then it became IE, Microsoft's, then Firefox came back.
Came back, but didn't take over the market. 27%.
Yeah, I was going to say 30% is where it was sort of
at 2011, after Chrome, and then it fell to Chrome.
And then Chrome comes out, and Google uses their monopoly position.
Well, people say they're a monopoly, but there isn't much antitrust action nowadays, and their search market in the U.S. is not 85%, 90%?
Well, it's 85% according to some statistics, but I think when you start drilling in on those statistics, it's really more like 90, 95.
Biggest ad server, biggest ad exchange.
Yeah, exactly. And so in terms of what's monetized, they're probably 99.x% of search ads.
And they're taking the incremental revenue for sure.
Yeah, well, because a lot of people use their ad network in order to do the revenue share.
Double click for publishers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But this puts them at, and Microsoft for that matter, everybody's in conflict because they make money from advertising.
Yes.
Brave doesn't have to, and you don't have to be in the extension business.
No, we worry about that. We think about it all the time as a way to get the Brave value proposition out there because we start by blocking by default, and that requires testing the web to make sure it works. There's still some work ahead of us on that front, but extensions don't have as much performance or API power. So they may run out of steam. Google also kicked out ad nauseum for click fraud. It was an extension that would click on every ad just to mess with the ecosystem.
That's hilarious.
We think about these things.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, if you build inside Google's ecosystem, which is the Chrome extension store, which is how most people do ad blocking, you will eventually have Google, you'll be controlled by Google essentially, but by building your own browser, which is a fork of Firefox or
Chromium.
Chromium.
Yeah.
So you have done to Google what Google did to you at Firefox. Is that right?
Kind of. They did it to Steve Jobs too because they used WebKit, if you remember that, which was
Yes.
inspired by Mozilla. It was a fork of KHTML, which was open source. And then Jobs said, you can't use my WebKit. And Google said, sorry, it's open source.
Yeah. And so the Brave browser came out when?
We were in beta in January of 2016, and we were in the app stores by the end of February, which was a little bit bumpy, but we got in. We've stayed in. And we have a similar footprint on app stores. Android is our biggest. We're 70% or more mobile, maybe 75% mobile, 25% desktop.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
Wow.
mobile first. Android's huge for us.
So let's talk about the big moral, ethical quandary about advertising and ad blocking.
Yes.
This has been, and I come from a journalism, ad-supported background, this has been a big debate.
Yes.
Which is more important, the user's ability to control their experience or the advertiser's ability to monetize their content? Because you block the ability for the New York Times or other people, the publisher, the content creator, you block their ability to monetize. What gives you the right, is what they would say, to do that? And obviously the users believe, well, it's my browser. I should do what I want to do with it. How do you stand? I mean, I know you stand on the issue, but how do you think about this issue?
So I don't want to call this shot for everybody because people have different trade-offs. The web standards, in point of fact, allow ad blocking. They allow screen readers for the visually impaired. They allow reader mode, like Safari does a good job at, and there are many extensions for. They allow you to pick and choose and even mash up web content. The standards by design let you say, I don't want this. It looks like an ad, or I don't want this. It looks like that sidebar on Facebook I never use, so I'm going to get rid of that. And there are ways to do that kind of blocking already. I think the court cases have gone in favor of ad blocking rights in Germany for sure, where Springer just lost yet another case
Axel Springer
against IO, which owns AdBlock Plus. We should talk about them in a minute.
Yeah, we will put a pin in AdBlock Plus.
But I think the legal ground for user rights to ad blocking and the standards basis are strong. But I've talked to publishers since 2013, and they are at the long end of a payment chain where they get whatever's left and they get the fraud costs. Ad fraud is a big problem put back on them. So they're not happy campers even without ad blocking. They've been getting declining revenues. They've been suffering with the rise of Google and Facebook, the commodification of news. And when I talked to Jim Spanfeller, he used to be a Forbes publisher. He runs his own media group in New York. In 2013, he encouraged me to do basically what we're doing, block by default, and then build up clean funding models from that baseline.
Okay, so there's a great jumping off point. When we get back from this quick commercial, let's talk about, now that you've built the most elegant solution for blocking ads, what your solution is to publishers making money with this new crypto model when we get back on This Week in Startups. Ah, yes, Asana. I love Asana. I've been using Asana like a madman of late. Why? Because I need to know what everybody on my team is doing. And I need to know when that work is due. And I need to know where all the information is stored and how to tackle these routine tasks. An example is, we do this podcast. There are like 50 things that need to occur. And you know what? Sometimes 16 occur, sometimes 42. Not anymore. With Asana, we make sure everything gets checked off and we know who's going to work on each individual task. Asana helps everybody work faster and more productively by making sure that teammates can see the plans and they don't miss the milestones and the deadlines. For example, if you're doing events or product launches, advertising campaigns, any of these things, there are a lot of moving parts, and Asana takes all those moving parts and it puts them in the perfect location, and it gives you these beautiful email updates, and there's commenting under each task, and you can assign the task, and you can color the task and put it in folders. You can look at the tasks in different views, like a timeline or in boxes or in lists. You get to pick how you want to look at all those tasks you need to get done. Sometimes I like to look at the calendar when we're doing Launch Festival Sydney. Other times I have a personal task list of things I need to write. In fact, I'm writing my new book and I'm putting my tasks into Asana. You can do the Kanban board thing too if you're into that. 30,000 companies with teams in 192 countries trust Asana, and I am one of them. As is Airbnb, Uber, Thumbtack, and Facebook. Think about that. 2 of those 4 unicorns, I am an investor in, Uber and Thumbtack. Airbnb and Facebook, I miss those. But I mean, that's a pretty good client roster right there. And there is a reason. And one of the reasons is you can integrate with hundreds of apps like Google, Dropbox, and Slack. So if you need to share files or documents, you can plug all those in really easily. I want you to start using Asana today, not for any other reason that I'd like to see you be more productive. And this is massively productive. I got my wife on it now, and we're doing all the household stuff. Because, you know, when you got a family, you got kids, you got things you got to get done, or I should say things that I need to get done on my punch list. And I'm up on the roof cleaning windows and fixing the heater, everything. My wife loves to put those on my Jason to-do task list. And here's what I want you to do. Don't put more stuff on my task list because I'm doing pretty well right now, but I don't need any more. What you need to do is you need to try Asana and get control of your life. And my anxiety's gone down. I have less anxiety because I use Asana. And you will too. Asana.com/twist. Asana.com/twist. You will become a productivity machine. ASANA.com. Asana.com/twist. It is an incredible product, so go sign up for free and manage all of those projects and tasks and start hitting some deadlines, okay? Super important. Startups are about speed. This will quicken the pace a bit. All right, let's get back to this amazing episode. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to This Week in Startups. My guest is none other than Brendan Eich. He is the CEO and co-founder of Brave, and created JavaScript, and worked at Mozilla and Firefox, was the co-founder there, and worked at Netscape, and now running Brave, which has built-in ad blocking. I use it. It is amazing. Of course, I have to uncloak. So you're a nerd, a huge Star Trek nerd. Am I correct?
I think the shields up, shields down metaphor is good. People understand dropping your shields may be necessary. They also know that Kirk got in a lot of trouble in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, when he dropped his shields, or he approached another Federation vessel with his shields down.
Yes.
Against orders.
So you have uncloaked yourself as a Star Trek nerd. When you're using the product, if you go to something like YouTube or Netflix, or I was on the Wall Street Journal the other day, and I couldn't play the video. It was ESPN, actually, now I remember. ESPN, I couldn't play the video because I guess they block your blocking.
They can arms race with us. It can be accidental. YouTube, we work great. We block the pre-roll ads.
Yes. That's fine.
ESPN, I'll have to look into. This is something where we're building machine learning and web crawling to automate.
Got it.
The exception handling.
But there's another thing. The browser keeps asking me to make a deposit and asking me for my money to buy attention tokens, the BAT, the Basic Attention Token.org.
We shouldn't nag you too much because we want to give you tokens, and we're working on doing that regularly.
Airdrop me some tokens.
We've done that through the browser.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, explain the model here. So now is the attention token you as well, or is that a group of people?
That's a project that is run through Brave Software International. So that's us. We are looking forward on a roadmap to a later phase when we prove the model in Brave and then can take it to other apps. And I had people at Mozilla and Opera already express interest, so we may get it to be in multiple browsers. We think it makes sense as a future cleaned up version of the web platform that's currently ridden with ads and tracking. When we block ads, we block tracking too, which is not something all the top ad blockers do. They let the tracking scripts measure you and surveil you, but they just block the ugly ads. And there's a notoriously big ad blocker, AdBlock Plus, and a few others that have followed it that charge Google to let certain ads through. Now, they say those ads meet objective, acceptable ads criteria, but they still get paid big bucks.
So this is hilarious. So AdBlocker Plus built up the largest ad blocker in the world in Chrome extensions and other places.
Firefox first.
Yeah. And then sold out to Google to allow them to let their ads through with this fugazi claim that their ads are cleaner than the other ones.
They get
what a load of horse.
They tweet at me and say, we have acceptable ads with the right hand. We have some payment from the 1%. We're just like Robinhood with the left, and the left and the right hand don't know what the other hand's doing.
I don't buy it.
I don't buy it.
Yeah, no, it sounds like a huge scam to me. That's just one person's opinion. Don't sue me. All right, so let's take a look at the Brave browser here. We'll fire up Brendan's computer. I'm going to sportscast it a bit so that people who are just listening. But here's his very elegant browser. And it says here from the top left, what does that say?
It's a new tab page where we show what are called Brave stats. There's actually a bravestats.tumblr.com that collects these because people like to compete on them. As you use it, these numbers climb. The orange number is trackers blocked. The red one is ads blocked. The blue one is HTTPS connections that we rescued. A lot of secure connections get lost because the page itself spells a link with HTTP:.
So you will look at that, then test adding the S, and if it works, resolve it.
Yeah, and we keep a community curated list along with HTTPS
And that's
everywhere.
important because?
Otherwise, you're subject to man-in-the-middle attacks on open Wi-Fi networks, and you can have your crypto or your bank account credentials stolen.
Yeah, so slightly...
more secure.
Yeah.
So minor detail.
Minor detail.
And the final number is the estimate of seconds saved. Now, this is a new profile, so I'm up to 8 seconds. But if you go to bravestats.tumblr.com, you'll see people who've racked up hours saved through the blocking.
And this is because browsers and loading pages is incredibly slow due to ads and trackers.
And the trackers. And the invisible scripts that measure you and then confirm the ads after.
Yes.
And there's a ton of them. If you go to TMZ, you can see, maybe I can pop over here and show you it.
Yeah.
It's like this crazy chart.
We're loading up the Brave...
this is a keynote that I have just to show you how bad it is. I showed this at an event in Spain recently, so let me just find the slide. I'm thinking of this one. And if I go play from here... there
we go. Boom.
I'm going to just go forward again. There it is.
Here we go.
The left-hand tracking graph, which is measured by instrumenting JavaScript in the browser by Ghostery, builds up this huge model of what's spying on you. And it's just a stunning zoology of parasites. There's DoubleClick, there's Rubicon. There's companies you've never heard of. By the way, in Europe, very soon, the GDPR says the publisher, TMZ, must get your consent for any of these to track you. Most people will say no. And you cannot be compelled to give consent by denying you TMZ's content. You cannot be forced to give consent.
Wow. So the idea that you can visit my website if you play by my rules, but you can't otherwise is going away.
That's right. And you can say no to tracking and still get the basic website content, the first party content.
I didn't know you could do that.
That's coming in Europe.
Why? Wait a second. That seems like a little undemocratic to me. Shouldn't it be, or capitalistic, shouldn't it be if I want to put my content out there, I can say pay for it or don't pay for it, but if you don't pay for it, you got to be tracked.
In Europe, they have a tradition with data protection regulations from the 90s that says duress violates consent, and users must consent to what they call processors, the third-party trackers, as well as controllers, who are like the publishers. And if you look at the tracking graph on the right, that's what TMZ looks like in Brave. It's just the domain shards, the edge caches, the first-party virtual sites.
And for people who are listening, the left-hand graph with like the tracking on it looks like the entire universe, and the one on the right looks like half of our solar system. In other words, the sun and like 4 of the planets. The other side looks like, the entire galaxy, as it were. Now, when you're in the browser, there's a little button you can press, the Brave Lion. And when you press that, so if we were to pull up a site like TMZ,
or I'm gonna show you. My good buddies at CNET, maybe?
Yeah, sure.
Is that okay?
CNET, been a while, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, when you hit the Brave button, it's going to tell you everything going on there. And
Yes.
23 ads blocked on their homepage.
They're pretty good on HTTPS. They don't lose security by accident. But if you click on the 23, you get a detailed list of all their tracking partners. It's human. And the thing is, these companies often work against the user's interest and even the publisher's interest.
Right. Because I had this at Engadget. When they would try to get us to put this tracking on, then they would go sell people directly Gizmodo and Engadget, and CNET and 5 other sites.
Yeah.
And they'd say, we can get you Engadget instead of $35 CPM, we'll get it for you for $3. Because we have their remnant inventory. We'll get their users when they're on another site.
They will sell you down the river for scale.
And Nick Denton and I talked about it, and we both blocked all third-party ad network content.
Very good. That means you're GDPR compliant if you really did it.
We did.
And there's more here in the Lion panel. This is called the Shields panel, Brave Shields. There's a Shields menu item. You can take the whole Shields down, and it'll reload the page, and now I'm being tracked. It's okay.
Not the end of the world,
And then I turn it back on. I can take down individual shields. The count might vary a little bit because sometimes scripts don't all run the same. There's non-determinism or there's some randomness in the ad tech. There's a ads control that says block ads, allow ads and tracking, and there's something that we hope is coming called show brave ads, which users will have to choose. We will not force it on them. So again, GDPR.
Brave ads will be ones that don't track you.
Don't track you, matched in the browser.
Right.
Confirmed through a zero-knowledge proof protocol, which is popular with things like Zcash. We have our own version.
Hold on a second. We got to speak English here, okay, Brendan? We got not everybody speaks.
I'm sorry.
Start again. Explain that one more time.
Have you heard of Zcash? Which is
Zcash is
anonymous.
The ability to buy drugs online without being. No, Zcash is anonymous cash.
Yes.
There's no wallet.
It's a fork of Bitcoin that has both public addresses like Bitcoin and anonymous addresses, Z addresses, and the latter use what's called zero-knowledge proofs. This is a part of cryptography that lets you
zero-knowledge proofs
present a proof to somebody where the fact you're claiming is tied up in the validity of the proof. And so if the person you pass it to can satisfy themselves by checking it, verifying it, then they can believe the claim you're making without knowing who you are.
Right. So instead of having on the blockchain forever immutable the fact that I sent you $100 for a big bag of drugs on Silk Road. Or something. Who knows? It could just be like the Anarchist Cookbook or illegal...
Beanie Babies.
Illegal Beanie Babies. I don't know if Beanie Babies is a colloquialism for something. But anyway, Zcash is the anonymous cash thing. So you're saying you could have a profile of me that says I'm from San Francisco and then sell San Francisco users to somebody, or without it being...
Pretty broad, yes. It's differentially private. Craig Federighi at Apple claimed that Apple invented differential privacy, but I'm going to go a little
differential privacy.
We've got zero-knowledge proofs, which can prove facts without identity.
Right.
You can verify them without knowing who you are.
An example of that might be location or the fact that I read a certain website.
That you saw an ad, for instance,
Okay.
or clicked on it. Or you made an anonymous donation through Brave, which we already support. And then differential privacy, which is a way of adding noise to the signal so that only the hot signals pop out. And there are enough people who have those hot signals that you can't identify anybody from them.
Right.
So San Francisco is good. Cars that are bought by the millions or hundreds of thousands are good.
Right.
Things
Yeah.
like
I mean,
that.
this was the original concept of ad tracking and the promise as, described, I don't know, in 99 or 2000 when this was all getting started was, hey, you're going to see ads that are more appealing to somebody in San Francisco who likes Volvos. We never thought it was going to be, no, we're going to track you because you clicked on a Volvo ad on this day on this page, and we're going to track you when you read a story about depression on the Huffington Post and then resell you as a depressed Volvo owner because you're so anxious about safety that we now have a profile of you that we've shared with 100 other organizations that you are manic depressive and care about safety to a level that is neurotic.
Right. And those attributes all add up to something that is not differentially private. Often you have 10 of those and it identifies you like 10 fingerprints.
Yeah, it gets totally scary.
Harvind Narayanan at Princeton wrote a paper when he was at Stanford showing any sufficiently detailed profile of you can identify you very reliably.
Now, how does all of this and how does Facebook add into all this? Because they are the center of the storm right now, and they are tracking your behavior in Facebook, which you cannot impact.
They're a first party. That's a publisher. You go to them willingly. So if you use Brave, we will block any third parties they might have, but they're kind of self-sufficient, so they don't do that. But they have a bunch of third-party tracking around the web for Facebook
the
Audience
like
Network, the like button, the share widget, the post comments widgets, things like that. We block those from tracking you.
So then Facebook can't put together, we know this is Jason, and we know he's reading articles about depression on Huffington Post.
Right.
And because that's what they can do, which they came up with the biggest scam in the world. And I try to explain this to people about Zuckerberg and the amoral nature to that organization is they came up with the like button specifically to get dopey publishers to give up their data so that they could sell ads and then destroy those publishers. And they succeeded.
And it worked.
Publishers are so dumb that they're like, oh, we'll put this like button on here and we'll send traffic back to Facebook. Facebook will then know which profile that they have the information on. We don't have profiles that Engadget, but this is why we never put the like button on. And then they will have the like button and they'll know they read these articles on Engadget and they can sell people who read the BlackBerry articles versus the, Razor versus iPhone articles.
Exactly.
And they would be selling our own readers better than we could.
That's right. The same kind of conflict of interest.
Oh, I hate Facebook as an organization, and I dislike greatly Mark Zuckerberg. And I don't like to make it personal, but I believe personally, like all this business is personal, and the things you build speak volumes for who you are.
He made it personal by talking about Facebook as sort of this personal helper of yours, and it's your data that you control. So he kind of asked for it.
He lied.
He said they trusted me. He's haunted by that quote from his.
They trusted me. Why? Because they're dumb Fs.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of times, I want to give the benefit of the doubt that people can evolve. And people obviously can evolve. But I do think in terms of that organization, the organization has not evolved. And even when they're on the precipice of being regulated and pulling a Microsoft, which you and I are students of history, like, hey, dummies, like, do you really want your organization to spend 3 or 4 years in hell?
They might have to go through it. Microsoft had to go through it. I think they
And you know what happened? Yeah. Bill Gates, I think it broke Bill Gates's creativity and love of business.
And they put the sales guy in charge, which is never good. Jobs noted that about IBM with John Aker, and then Ballmer at Microsoft.
Yeah, when you put the salesperson in charge, you get this short-term bump, and then all innovation is lost.
Exactly.
And you're screwed. All right, when we get back from this final break, Brendan is going to show us the attention token and explain how he raised $35 million. Is that right in the ICO?
A little more. And it was a
little more
in Ether too. So
and in Ether, and Ether has gone 5x since then. So he's sitting on 150 million in Ether. When we get back on, I'm guessing, This Week in Startups. Hey everybody, let me take a moment to thank Squarespace. We use Squarespace for all of our sites, event sites, from Launch Festival to Launch Festival Sydney. We're going to be going to Sydney this year. We're going to go dive the Great Barrier Reef before it's gone. And every time we want to fire up a new website, we use Squarespace. We get it up and running immediately. We have beautiful templates, and you can turn your cool idea as well into a website, whether you want to showcase your work, do a blog, publish content, or sell products and services of any kind. Promote your physical or online business. Doesn't matter if it's in the real world or it's virtual. Announce an upcoming event like we do, or a special project. We use it for that as well. You're going to get those beautiful templates created by world-class designers and powerful e-commerce functionality that lets you sell anything online. You can customize the look and feel, the settings with just a few clicks. Everybody in our organization knows how to update the website, which is always a key for us. Oh my God, the website now reflects the reality of our business. And that's what you really want to do. That's my advice to you. If you're talking about what your business is and your website doesn't communicate that to your stakeholders, you're doing it wrong. Whatever you know about your business should be on that website so that your customers and stakeholders can understand it. So if you've got a new product or feature and you don't include a page about it on your website because you don't want to call the designer, you don't want to call your tech people, well, you're doing it wrong. You want to get a Squarespace site. It's got built-in search engine optimization, free and secure hosting, and it's 24/7 award-winning customer support. So here's your call to action. Get a free trial, and when you're ready to purchase, go ahead and use the offer code TWIST. That's right. When you're about to launch, you use that offer code TWIST, and you'll get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Make it yourself. Easily create a website by yourself, and you can make it stand out. Stand out with a beautiful website with those gorgeous, gorgeous templates that work on all mobile devices, your desktop, everywhere. It's really future-proof, and they keep making the product better and better. It's one of the great things about investing in Squarespace is that every day of every year, they're investing in their own platform and giving you great new features for the same low price. Okay, thanks again, Squarespace. Welcome back to This Week in Startups. If you have a moment, do me a favor and go to iTunes and rate, subscribe, and write a review of the show. And when you write the review, take a screenshot, send it to me. I'm jason@calacanis.com, and I will reply back and thank you. And if you tweet it to me @Jason, I will retweet you and say thank you. Write something that will make my mom happy, like Jason doesn't curse on the show. All right, listen. I've been very critical of ICOs and crypto. Mm-hmm. You know this because we're follow each other on the Twitter. But I am very interested in what ICOs will actually produce real product in the world. And as I've told people, because I wrote, and this is how you wound up on the show, I think I wrote, tell me an ICO that you've used in the last 30 days, CryptoKitties. Yes. And the number one answer was Brave.
They tagged me in, yeah.
Like 1,000 times, and you had no choice but to come on the show under duress.
It's okay. I consent.
You consented, finally. But it is true that you are, I think, one of the few ICOs that has actually resulted in a real product in use. So let's talk a little bit about the Basic Attention Token, which you can read more about basicattentiontoken.org. What is it? Why did you create it? How does it work?
The Basic Attention Token, you can think of like script at a county fair, or like API keys that are plentiful but cryptographic, so you can use them to get more goodies from like Amazon, or like a gift card. And they are a token on Ethereum, the Ethereum blockchain, which is this big blockchain that came after Bitcoin that has programmability in its smart contracts, its script. Right. And that's why the token ecosystem emerged there, because people could write contracts to create what are now standardized as ERC20 tokens. And the BAT is one of those tokens. We did a sale May 31st last year that was capped. We wanted to do two things. We wanted to fund the project, and we wanted to give users tokens for free in consideration for their trying Brave or just being users of the web.
Got it.
And we did both by pre-creating 500 million tokens for users and team, 350 million for users in reserve, and then $1 billion to sell.
Got it. And did you sell the $1 billion?
Yes, in 24 seconds.
In 24 seconds.
2 Ethereum blocks. It went fast. We obviously, in hindsight, should have gone bigger, go home. Some other token sales after us used us as a benchmark and went really big, like
EOS.
Status. Was that on Ethereum or was that on its own?
I don't know.
There was Tezos. There was
Tezos was on the show. They did 200 plus.
Yeah,
I don't know what's worth now.
Too.
So, are you precluded from selling more tokens in the future?
It's capped and it's final, but we can subdivide them down to 18 decimal places of fractions. So we'll never run out.
Right.
What we want is to use the user growth pool, we call it, the 350 million tokens, to reward users, reward creators like the YouTubers who can get paid now through Brave, who refer us new monthly users, and to grow Brave until we can bring the whole platform to other apps like other browsers, games, messengers.
Let's show how it works, because my basic understanding is I buy some Ethereum somewhere, and then I don't buy basic attention tokens from you. I buy them.
You can get them from us. We've been doing grant releases. We did one in January. We did one again. But we have a regular mechanism coming out, which will just give them out regularly to real users. We have to avoid users taking them to exchanges and cashing out because it's a huge fraud problem.
Right.
But here's the trick. We build in utility to Brave so that they flow by default. You know, browsers have settings panels like the one I'm showing.
Sure.
Ours has a payments pane, which is unusual. Payments.
Can you hit Command plus on that, make it a little bigger? Or
yeah, sure. And payments.
Maybe twice.
Sorry about that.
Boom.
Yeah.
Perfect.
If you go to the payments panel, you get an offer to turn on Brave Payments.
Right.
And if you turn it on and you haven't received a grant from us, then you get the ability to fund your user wallet, which is a wallet in the browser. The user has custody of it, but it's wired into settling toward your favorite sites and YouTube accounts. You can see Mato Yelik, the chess expert on YouTube there. You can see CNET. This is a new profile, so I've started adding things. So if I go to a new site here and I go to Engadget, is it still around? Sure, why not?
Yeah, it's still around.
Then I will get some attention focused there. Maybe I'll read Bitcoin, see what's going on there. And then I go back to my payments panel and preferences. And in a few seconds, you will see, it takes a few seconds because it's got a minimum threshold of attention.
Right.
Maybe I should go back and focus it and read some more instead of pretending.
Scroll down, click on a couple of things.
Yeah, I'm reading on it. My 200,000 Bitcoin Odyssey. Okay. Zach Hines.
So it actually is looking at your scrolling behavior and your attention in the tab.
Only in the browser, all privately on device. We want to can't be evil rather than don't be evil. We don't want to see your data on our servers.
Can't be evil.
Yes, we don't want to see it anywhere.
As opposed to don't be evil. Google's famous credo.
Yeah, it didn't age well.
Didn't age well, was don't be evil.
Yeah.
And it wasn't an official one. It was sort of, somebody brought it up in a meeting and it kind of caught on. But can't be evil is an even higher order, which is, we're not collecting the data, therefore it's impossible for us to spy on you or be evil. The
best thing you can do for your privacy is just not to give it out. We have open source. Everything's open source, so it can be audited. We're going to have independent audits.
But you can't know people's history because the history is saved locally and encrypted.
That's right.
It's not saved on your servers.
That's right. And if you go...
As opposed to Google, which is sucking up all that Chrome information and putting it in the cloud.
It's putting it in the cloud. And in fact, they are sucking your browser history by default if you sign into Chrome in the upper right.
Yeah.
A lot of people do for Gmail. So now you see Engadget among my sites that I can support. If I don't,
you had one view, 47 seconds.
It's like Chartbeats in the browser. I can turn it off if I don't care. I can turn it back on and it'll start accumulating again. I can do something here to pin it. If I want to send a percentage of my monthly budget, like 10%, I can send 10% of my monthly budget.
And this goes back to microtransactions, which you and I both, since we're both old men of the web now, this has been the concept on the web that nobody's been able to ever implement.
Right. Ted Nelson, Project Xanadu had micro royalties too.
Micro royalties, yeah.
You need that in Second Life or the AR future because people's art got stolen all the time in Second Life.
And this idea of microtransactions, micro tipping, it comes up over and over again, but the transaction fees associated with credit cards are such that it was insane. You'd be giving somebody 10 cents and paying a 50-cent minimum on your credit card.
Right.
The other problem was the cognitive overhead of having to decide, you could look at this New York Times story for a penny or a tenth of a penny. My attention and the cognitive overhead to make that decision was greater than the cost.
Right. The value to you that was speculative and the cost was clear and you just wouldn't do it. What we do to overcome that is similar to what things like the Blendle app, which is a news reading app that took off in the Netherlands, and Flatter Plus do, which is we batch things up for 30 days privately on your browser. You get to just browse around and these sites will start getting some percentage. And if you don't like them, turn them off. But the algorithm is pretty clear and simple. And you can also pin. And at the end of 30 days, on the 29th day, you get a little info bar saying, hey, your payments are about to reconcile. Would you like to adjust them? And that's where there's an easy cognitive cost of just looking through the list and seeing what you want.
It's not on every consumption moment. It's at the end of the month and it's percentages. And you can do fun things like pin somebody and say, you know what, I think this person needs more support than CNET, so I want to give no support to CNET, and I want to give support to this gadget blogger who I know is suffering.
Exactly. Let me do that.
Yeah, no. Well, you could be like, listen, I don't want to give to corporate monopolies. They're doing well enough already. I'm going to just take them out. But here's the interesting thing about this. Do you need the permission of these organizations to collect money on their behalf?
No, it turns out you don't. That's another area of case law where it's okay to collect money on behalf of them, and it often is being bootstrapped from our user growth pool. So we can take it back into the pool if they don't want it.
So if CNET were to rake in, I don't know, $100,000 in the past year, you can't get anybody on the phone over there. They don't claim it.
Right.
You can say to the users, if we gave you the tokens for free, if they don't claim it in X number of days, we will reabsorb it into the pool.
It's like Powerball, and we do it over 90 days. So it's a long enough period that we get some publishers on board. We have over 16,000 publishers on board, I think 10,000 YouTubers right now.
Wow.
Growing.
What does YouTube think of you?
I think we're a fly going by their windscreen because we're small, but they have demonetized or never monetized a lot of their mid-tier creators. And these are really creative people who have tens of millions of subscribers. And they've had their revenue cut just for using salty language or for no clear reason at all. So
yeah, I mean, so much so that a mentally ill person shot the place up over being demonetized. And it's a conversation that I think people don't have enough, which is putting aside mental illness.
Yes.
Which obviously is the primary factor here.
It is.
And it's horrible that it happened, but none of us can sit here with a straight face and say that YouTube's behavior in changing the rules so often and without explanation, without warning, does not impact a large number of people.
It's like Google SEO when Matt Cutts used to be there. They changed the black box and
trust me, I know about
put people out of business. And there was a case in the UK that was settled in favor of somebody who was hurt this way, who was doing recommendations.
Right. And YouTube, I think, needs to have a really deep look at the relationship with content creators, because what I thought was bizarre about what they did was they looked at the people who made the least, who had the least impact on the bottom line, and said, let's exclude them.
In some ways, they were just heavy-handed. They had the big brands saying, oh, horror is brand safety. You put my good ad next to bad content, which might have happened. But it was partly a negotiating tactic by the brands for better ad rates, right?
I think it was. And I think like YouTube should have just said to them, listen, YouTube is a free-flowing community. If there is something you disagree with, let us know. And we will block you. We'll give you the tools so you can block that creator.
Better controls, right?
Better controls, which is what they did with stolen content. They said to people, hey, here's your fingerprint of your music.
Right.
You can either turn it off, or you can claim the money from it, or you can pursue legal, whatever you want. But here's the tool. And this is what it's such a bonehead decision to say the people who are in the bottom rung should take it the hardest. And
it's worse when they let through these machine-generated kid vids. You've heard about these?
Yes, I've seen them. I have kids.
Troll-trained machine learning.
Unbelievable.
Or they have like ISIS not showing weapons get through, but anybody who has like a gun cleaning video is banned.
If you are, I remember this one kid who's very famous on there. He does those like look into the camera review videos. He's very famous. And he would talk about a topic in the news. Could be a school shooting, could be an ISIS attack, could be negotiations with North Korea. And his video on that topic would be demonetized.
Yes.
Then on the other side, and he's the guy who would say, you beautiful bastards. Hey,
Philip DeFranco, he's a partner of ours
Philip
now.
DeFranco.
He signed up with us.
He signed up. Philip DeFranco is one of the most loved people, and they've known him there. He's been at every YouTube event I ever went to back in the day. Philip DeFranco would do a video about something controversial, a school shooting. He get demonetized. So it's like, well, why did I spend, whatever time I did on that video? CNN would do the exact same thing. Fox would do the exact same thing, and they wouldn't be. It was so obvious that YouTube was not even deploying the unfair rules consistently.
Were they trying to help the old media versus the new media? I don't know.
Well, and the other part of it is, these are the people who got you there.
Yeah.
So the people who helped you get there, you then kick the chair out from under them. You pull the chair out from under. That to me was very low of them.
I agree. And YouTube utterly depends on those mid-tier and small-tier creators still.
I don't know if they still do.
I think for the ones like Philip and Bart Baker is another partner of ours.
I would say Philip is like on the top tier.
Yeah.
I think he used to be the bottom tier, but he became, anybody over 1 million subscribers becomes like the establishment then.
If you use that definition, I agree with you. The thing is, YouTube seems to definitely care about the 100 million club.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And
Except for the Nazi one.
PewDiePie. But he's not. He's just a troll.
He's just an idiot.
He's a game narrator.
He's a game narrator who, like, a lot of times these like young kids are just dumb. They don't even know what the Holocaust is, some of them. Like, some large percentage of young people are not aware of what the Holocaust is.
Amazing loss of historical knowledge across the board.
Unbelievable. Yeah. So, of these payments that have gone out, what is a top 10 publisher? What's the top 10 currently? Is it tens of dollars a month, hundreds?
Oh, no, it's thousands. Especially when we started
already?
Yeah. And we started this program with Bitcoin. And of course, Bitcoin ran up. And over that settlement period, because we have to do anti-fraud to look for people steering our grants through fake browsers into one fake YouTube account.
Can't imagine what that is. Oh
so we have like a 30-day buffer on the settlement side to look at fraud problems, and that means the crypto can go up. If it goes down, we have enough in our user growth pool that we, as a hedge, we just make good on the promised dollar value.
Right.
So we're always making good on like the $5 user referral fee that we pay to Philip when he brings a new user to us.
Oh, so if he brings a new user, he gets a $5.
$5 in BAT. And if BAT goes down, we'll give him more BAT.
In BAT. Amazing.
In BAT. Yeah.
And they are any of the major marketplaces letting you trade it? Any of the major exchanges?
Yeah, we're on Bittrex, we're on Huobi, we're on Binance.
But not on the Coinbase or Robinhood's yet.
Now,
are you on Abra? Abra?
No, it's not. Abra's not an exchange. They're payment.
Well, they're doing. It's a wallet. And they do
wallet.
fiat currency. I'm an investor in that one. Fiat currency and some crypto.
I know Bill from
back
Netscape.
in the day. Yeah.
I don't know about Abra. I know this. Brian Armstrong who I know made a nice tweet about us being the kind of token Coinbase would love to have.
Yeah.
Before we did our sale, and everyone now on Twitter holds that over his head. So I'm hoping it'll work.
It is interesting how if they list you, you become made because they have so many.
We're not really
accounts.
in this for the short term. We're trying to build a long-term platform. This is a utility token. We model it as something like, I said, Script at County Fair. We do not tout it as something you invest in. And we give it to people because we
really want it to...
What did you say at the
County Fair? What did you say that term?
Script.
What is that?
It's like paper money. Like,
paper money. They call it Script. Yeah.
Tickets.
Yeah. I understand the ticket thing. Like it's the Chuck E. Cheese tokens.
Yes.
Now... Are people buying them though to speculate?
I'm sure they are because they buy Beanie Babies and comic books to speculate. Which
now, did you go utility token on this, or did you
utility?
You went utility,
straight utility, and we have not had any regulatory letters or anything.
Okay,
we're like the model citizen here. We don't tout it. We do not pay to list it on exchanges. We do not.
No 2-for-1 sales. If you buy it now, you get half off.
No discounts. We didn't pre-sell to investors.
So this is interesting. When you saw all that opportunity to pump it up, you, for some reason, decided, I'm just going to do this straight. Why?
I think we were serious about the legal risks. I think you've seen some utility tokens, and Munchies was probably a valid utility design, but their founders talked it up foolishly and got in trouble with the SEC. You see other projects where they pre-sold at a discount or they did something else that put them on the wrong side of securities law. You've seen other projects say, we're going to be a security, but then they didn't comply with security law, which is complex, and they got in trouble.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the big thing with if you don't comply with securities law, you will have to go back and offer everybody their money back, which means you've then done sort of like a put for them. Like, if it goes up, take the gain. If you lose your money, we give you back your principal.
You might not be able to do it, or you might not have a working address there on Ethereum. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the ballpark range of people using the product now?
Oh, yeah, I want to publish our growth charts because people will root for us.
Oh, you do?
We crossed 2.2 million monthly actives the other week. We're heading toward 5 million by the fall, I think. We are getting to the scale where we can start doing the brave ads, the private ads. And that I'm looking forward to because that's a model that hasn't been tried before. I don't know if you remember All Advantage from the late 90s.
Of course.
They ran a strip of ads along the bottom of a browser like newsreader.
Yeah.
And they gave users revenue share.
Yep.
That's one of the inspirations for Brave. Now, they did track you, and it was the 90s. It was before modern advertising.
Well, they had also had free PC back then, and they had the free ISP, Net Zero.
Right.
So there was a lot of horse trading going on.
But we can do it with high privacy where your data stays on your device.
Perfect.
We can reward the user. We're going to give 70% of the ad revenue to whoever owns the ad space. So our first model is the user gets a long-form, beautiful ad in a private tab. And that...
They get 70% of.
You get 70% of. And that can be a brand e-commerce channel.
Well, see, here's the thing. This is why I think Facebook is so stupid. Honestly, I think they got so greedy that they didn't understand that if they just did a marquee takeover and said, we're going to stop tracking you if you want to click this button. But if you click that button, you have a 15-second pre-roll ad when you load Facebook. And it's going to be for a movie, Avengers, whatever.
Something big.
Something big.
Yeah.
And there's always something big.
Yes.
So HBO, whatever. And we'll sell one a day. So one person a day can take over, which was one of the things Netscape did and other people did, was the takeover. Yeah. Why not just say, you have 2 million people. We're going to do one a day. It's going to cost this amount, and you can book it now. And trust me, on Black Friday or Cyber Monday, it's going to be twice as much to lock that in.
We're going to have house ads. We're going to have trials before we get deals.
You don't need the Target. Who cares? Everybody is going to go see Avengers. Everybody is going to go to Target or Walmart or Amazon.
And we'll do, clean charities. There's a spinal charity in the UK we're talking to, so we'll do stuff like that. Yeah.
All right. Talk to me about the relationship between the investors in the company and the tokens, because you've only raised a couple of $1 million for the company.
Crunchbase is a little bit on the low side there.
Oh, okay.
It's all seed funding.
10 million or something in that range?
A little less.
A little less, 7, 8.
Yeah, a little under 10. And we have not diluted since 2015 because the later seeds were notes, which are extended.
The later seeds were notes. Got it. And so then you add on to it this ICO, you never have to raise money again.
Well, I wouldn't say never because we want to go big, and we also, we see the token sale, which is non-dilutive, as something that we should use while the sun shines. We should grow the company with the right talent to grow the product in the market.
How many full-time employees now?
70 now, I think.
70?
Yeah, we're big. Yeah, we're getting big.
Whoa, you're spending like 10, 15 million a year. That's not cheap.
That's right. And we have a bunch of summer interns, grad student interns in London. We have a pretty good team.
Based here?
Here,
or virtual?
The chief scientist is in London. We have my co-founder in Canada. So we have people spotted around different places.
Is it too hard to build an at-scale software company here in the Valley now? You're better off being in Waterloo or Toronto?
I certainly, I live in Santa Clara, so I drive 50 miles one way a day when I come here. I have a hard time doing the train because I have to get kids from Taekwondo. I do see a lot of talent in San Francisco still, and that's the main reason we're here. But we're hiring everywhere.
Yeah, it does seem like that's becoming the...
And open source, and we use Zoom. It's getting better.
Things are good.
Yeah.
So the token, though, could become something outside of your ecosystem. So
have a trade group to govern it among the apps that you share it.
Yeah.
We would have it, because it scales down through 18 decimal places a fraction. It could go it could go indefinitely, really. It could scale. It's like a balloon.
What is the cost of a token today?
40 cents, 41 cents. It ran up to 91 cents in January, and then it fell back down to 20 or 19 cents, and now it's up to, it was 46 the other day. I don't track it. I used Jim Barksdale's advice when Netscape went public. He told the team, do not follow the tape. He said, don't follow the chart. Don't live or die by it. And I feel that way about this. This is a utility token. If somebody's speculating on it, it's a free world, at least most parts of it. But for us, we're trying to use it as a tool to reward users. It's like a social credit currency almost.
No, it's very interesting. I remember when the virtual currency craze was happening in China, Mark Pincus did Zynga, and I did Mahalo Answers, and we created it with Mahalo dollars. And it was amazing to me how crazy people went. Talking about fraud.
Yes.
We would do the 30-day reconciliation, and you could only cash out for gift cards, which were like $10 to one. So if you had 100 Mahalo dollars, you get a $10 gift card. And we kind of capped it at like a $100 gift card. But a Mahalo dollar was answering a question, or $2 to answer a question. So we would just put a bunch of Mahalo dollars in people's accounts on our staff, and then we would ask questions, and people would answer them and earn them and get beach towels and gift cards. It was hilarious. At the end of the month, we would look at it, and there were a bunch of people publishing the same IP address would ask 50 questions, answer 50 questions, answer 50 questions, and then we would cancel their account.
Yes. I studied the U.S. Gift Act because it allows $10 maximum, I think, gift cards.
Yeah.
And I read this case while I was studying it. There was somebody arrested who was passed out on drugs in a hotel room, and they were lying on a pile of gift cards, like in Breaking Bad when they fly on the money.
Hilarious. Well, that was exactly what happened with our attorney. Started saying, "Hey, are you doing a, how do you protect against money laundering and all this stuff? You don't have that issue because you control this token."
That's right. When we get to the point where there's ad revenue flowing, there's going to be a fraud risk. Fraud is always present in human relations where there's money changing hands. But
people say what advertising and clicks, it's like 5-10% of clicks.
Ooh, it's bigger. Augustin Fu at NYU says it's like 16 billion last year out of 80 billion in the US. So
that would be 20%.
20%, yeah.
If it was 20%, give or take 20%. But most of the advertisers are factoring that in.
The CMO never gets fired for overspending. They get fired for underspending.
Yeah.
And they have to spend. So do they care if it's fraud? The agency that works for them has a conflict because the 24-year-old wants week-by-week numbers to be up, and fraud helps warm the numbers up.
Yeah, see, that is the real conundrum.
Conflicts of interest.
All these conflicts of interest. And I think that the web took a wrong turn going down the advertising.
It evolved. It was like this, you call it the limoscape. It's like this fish tank that my kids had that grew too many algae and snails, right?
Yeah, you're like, wow, this is a really great algae and snail tank, but it's not a very good fish tank anymore.
So we're cleaning it out. We cut out all the middle players, cut out the middlemen, like Karl Marx said.
How do the Googles of the world look at you right now?
Like I said, we're a fly going by the windscreen, but I have friends.
2 million users, I would say you're now no longer a fly. I think they're looking at you like, you're a bee inside the car now.
Could be a bee in the car. I have friends on the Chrome team who actually root for us. I think
good.
When I talk to them, it's always, they wear the Google shirt when they have solidarity with the whole team. And when I say, well, what about those double-click guys in New York? And they say, oh, that's not me. That's not my department.
Yeah, and what does Apple think? Because Apple wasn't allowing browsers for the longest time. They finally, or video players. And I mean, sadly, after Steve Jobs died, I think, sad that Steve Jobs died, obviously. Mm-hmm. But he was the person who was micromanaging, from my understanding, some of those decisions.
I'm sure.
And now VLC, Chrome, and other browsers and other video players are allowed.
Have to use their engine, which I understand. They're reasonable. They're very...
you have to use their WebKit?
Yeah, you have to use their WebKit. Oh. You can't use... Like, Firefox can't use Gecko on iOS.
Got it.
On macOS, yes. But iOS is very controlled, and I understand the reasons. Apple is the best of the big four on privacy. It pains me to say this as a Mozilla founder, but Apple doesn't have an ad business. So they actually have blocked third-party cookies since 2003 when Safari came out. Their blocker had a workaround, a loophole, and now they've evolved it to intelligent tracking prevention. And we actually talked to them about the common causes.
They probably like you.
Standards body, they do.
I would
have
think
friends
they
there.
like
we're going to work in W3C on some of this.
It does seem like there is a movement afoot where we're finally getting consumers to pay attention to privacy for the first time.
Yes.
And they didn't pay attention after Ashley Madison's leaks or these leaks or that leaks. What is it about this moment in time that people are actually starting to care? Or are they not? Or am I just projecting?
So you're right. There's a rising consciousness of privacy as something valuable. It was never a unitary good you can market like speed or malware resistance or other features.
Memory, storage.
Yeah. Speed in the browser is still pretty good. And we realized such a speed when we're 8 times faster on mobile from blocking all these trackers on some news and media sites. We're 2 to 8 times faster. That's the range. So it's a huge win just to block things. But privacy is now valued because people see ads retargeting them. They see them stalking them. They see data breaches where somebody's put together A and B and they can identify them. And now that they're aware of, with Facebook being hauled before Congress. And I think the Parliament, the UK just said, you better come or we're going to come get you.
That was pretty great. They're like, by the way, you sent somebody who works for you. They didn't answer the questions. If you want to come back to our country, we're going to pick you up at the airport and give you a complimentary ride and a tour of Parliament.
I mean, if you look at these big companies, you asked what Google thinks of Facebook. Mark did a smart thing with WhatsApp, whose founders are bolting now, that he kept it at arm's length. And if they wanted to instantly improve their rep, they could buy Brave and put it at arm's length. I don't want to get bought.
No, of course not.
But they could do it. And yet I think he won't. I think it might be the 3 to 4 year pain that Microsoft went through.
Yeah, I think there's a certain arrogance that comes with that kind of outlier success, which you saw with Gates as well. It's like, well, I've already taken over the world. You're going to stop me? And the hubris is, we're not going to stop you. We're going to make it so unenjoyable for you to run your company that other people aren't going to want to work there.
Right.
And your days are going to be spent in depositions. That's the only way a CEO changes their behavior, in my experience, is when the depositions happen.
Yeah, the morale just isn't good at the CEO level.
Yeah, the CEO's morale,
Right.
literally, he or she will then be like, I don't want to get up today because I'm going to have to get asked questions by some, lawyer for 8 hours. Like, when you see Gates in those depositions, he is so pissed off.
Yes.
And he is like looking at the person like, you dipshit.
Looking daggers, yeah.
Changed the world and put a computer on every desktop.
Yes.
And you have the audacity to ask me about software?
It's not quite Tony Stark and Iron Man 2, is it?
No. Well, I think this is what will happen with Zuck, which is, they haven't done a discovery. There's never been a discovery process, to the best of my knowledge, from a lawsuit. And there's been a couple of lawsuits around the apps because, they talking about pulling out the chair.
Right. That's right.
From under. They pulled the chair out from under a lot of app developers, and a number of them sued. And I don't know what happened with those lawsuits. I know my name came up in some of them, from what I understand, because I had written some derogatory stuff about their behavior. And if somebody were to do a discovery process and compel all of the emails from all their different people running the developer stuff, it would not be pretty.
Right.
Because they were sitting there, I believe, I'm taking a huge guess here, but I've heard this from other people too, deciding who lived and who died.
I believe that of all the big companies that own too much of the web, right? And this is antitrust is pretty dormant in the U.S., but Europe's active.
They're beyond active now. Yeah. I mean, I think right now they want to get a slice of the pie. They're looking at all this money.
Yeah.
I think they got $2.4 billion from Google in a settlement over just shopping.
Yes.
They're not even up to travel or
that was the
restaurants.
One in the UK, yeah.
The UK was just the first one was like, we'll take $2.4 billion for this.
Yeah. That's
now
not trivial.
I mean, if they have 10 of those, it's $24 billion. I mean, it's painful.
They make $26 billion last year off of
100. Something like they're making 30, 40 billion a quarter. So that will sting. Yeah. It will sting. It could affect the share price. Now, $1 billion once or $2 billion once is cost of doing business.
Yes.
It has to be like a whole year's profitability. That would sting.
And that's what GDPR does. 4% of gross annual revenue. Fine.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
4% of your gross annual revenue, not profits.
Worldwide.
Wow.
Yeah.
They're really, that's nuts.
They're serious. It's going to get backed up in courts, but you can't count on that.
How do you know when you've won? I mean, when in your mind, you've been at this for a long time. With this company, how do you know that you've actually succeeded?
When we've standardized a lot of this and the BAT is shared among other apps, when we look at the history of the web, payments were hard to do without blockchain, but there was some talk about it in the 90s. And then you saw things like PayPal happen.
Yeah.
What if we kept standardizing up the stack instead of stopping? We went to anonymous donations. We went to ads that were anonymous but paid a revenue to the user. We went to all these things we're building into Brave. If there were standards for that, I would consider that a victory. And Brave would just be the first and the cleanest, I hope. Yeah. Because we're going to stick to our public revenue share, 70% of the user. We're not going to change it.
This is the thing I think would be the brilliant move by Zuckerberg. He's never shared a penny of that revenue.
No.
Not video, not nothing. No, I mean, even YouTube gives 55%.
Yeah.
I believe that Twitter and Facebook, if they wanted to avoid all problems, they could just say to users, if there's an ad on your page, even if you're a consumer, you get X.
Yeah.
And when you hit X threshold, you can cash it out. That's it.
That's the model we want to standardize. And if it becomes a standard, I'm done.
See, I think the opening, you could make an infinite amount of money. I'm like, literally, it would be $100 CPM, which with 10 million people would be a lot of money, like $1 million a day or whatever it is. Like, you could just put a trailer and say, watch the trailer. When you hit 15 seconds, you can skip. And just that, and who would complain? It's like, okay, Westworld trailer, okay, this trailer, okay, the Volvo trailer. It's not too much of a price to pay.
And we're going to give you the range of control on the frequency, 1 a day to 10 a day. You can thumbs down the ad if you don't like it, like in TiVo. We're going to take that feedback into the local machine learning, not into our servers, and only differentially privately will we get it out and aggregate it out.
All right, as we wrap up here, a couple of people said, I got to ask you about this Prop 8 thing that went down.
Oh, yeah. I can't talk about it because of non-disclosure with Mozilla, but it was a backstage story that had nothing to do with the public story. So
okay,
I'm kind of stuck there.
Yeah, okay. But are you anti-gay marriage?
I've been.
Or are you just a Christian?
I've been living in. I'm Catholic. I've been living in.
I grew up Catholic
in California since the 70s. So I've been through the whole evolution. Like, Mark Leno and others worked hard to make domestic partnerships legal and get the positive rights the same. So I supported all that, and then I didn't like the shenanigans around Gavin Newsom and company.
Got it. But you're not a bigot or anything like that. You like gay people. You got gay people working for
relatives,
you.
friends, employees, employers, teachers.
Yeah. I mean, people can evolve on these issues too.
I've had, and I still have an unimpeachable reputation in interpersonal relations and work relations. And so what happens is you get people who've been sort of brought up in the cultural Marxist universities, and they say he's secretly a hater, and we should like make sure he never works again. I think that's totalitarian. I
do think that's super disturbing. I think we have to be able to have open conversations about when we disagree about stuff.
I think that's a bigger problem than anything in the past that I ever did.
Yeah. All right. Well said, Brendan. Everybody should go stop what they're doing and check out brave.com. This is, I think, going to be a crowning achievement for you. I think it's like a very big deal. I've been using it. It's fantastic.
Trying to make the world and the web in particular a better place.
All right. Continued success with that. And we'll see you all next time on This Week in Startups. Bye-bye.